Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. As always, I'm looking forward to spending some crafty time with you. I hope your week started well. So come on in, plump up those cushions, make yourselves comfy. And we're going to create, well, a fun design. I thought, you know what, start of the week, let's do something nice and fun. And a couple of different techniques in it. So again, that's always good, keeps you on your toes. And I'm thinking this could be a birthday card, beautiful in your journal. Now you can make it into a tag. It's totally up to you. But the main thing is we're going to do some lovely watercolour work with these Zig Clean Colour Pens. Now, if you haven't got the pens, don't worry. You could just use some ink. You could use your pencils and colour the design in. But I'm sure you've got something you can use. So I'm going to pop that over there. And it all starts with a piece of our beautiful, I'm using the watercolour card. Now there'll be a bit of a reflection, but there we go. And the piece I've gone for is, I think, 5 by 3.5, but my memory's not what it was, so let's have a look. Oh, 5.5, see, by 3.5. There we go, I was sort of right. I should write it on the back, but then I think if I don't like the front, I might need to use the back, so... But that's just me. Now we're going to start with some stamping. Now you could use your stamping platform for this if you want, but I'm just going to see if I can use my blocks. But it's a good one if you did want to use your lovely stamping platform. And I'm going to use VersaFine Clear, lovely stamping ink. So permanent ink, remember it doesn't move with water. Portobello. And I wanted this colour because I thought pine cone's possibly too dark, but sand dune maybe a bit light. But experiment, see what you think. It's always good to experiment. And I'm going to stamp. I want to go off centre for this. But again, you could mix and match with this. But I know a lot of you like this size and you're not keen on the square card sometimes and you want smaller designs, and this would fit lovely on an A6 card. And I'm just going to give that a wipe with a damp cloth. Important, I need to clean this, take the ink off. And I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm just going to add some stamping with our lovely orchard grass. And I'm going to come in with Summertime to brighten this up. And also I'm thinking it goes with the colours of our sunflower. And I don't want to overdo it with this. So just maybe a couple of... And again, I just want to angle it to get that shape. And then again, give that a wipe. Notice we keep doing that cleaning thing. And then in with Portobello. And what the Portobello will do now is make it look a much more cohesive design. It brings it all together, but also it will give a bit of depth and it will knock that orange further back so that then we'll have that lovely depth. One more there. And I like that. And I like it's almost bushier here, less there, just so it's not too symmetrical. If we're not careful, we tend to stamp symmetrical if we're not thinking. It's funny, isn't it? And then now I'm going to come in with our lovely sentiment stamp. And this is the Forbidden Secrets. I've used this a lot recently. I just love the size, the font, and it's got the arrow on the back. I know a lot of people think it's a mushroom. So I think that's obviously Tracy getting in my head that my arrows now look like mushrooms. But it's just so that I don't stamp it upside down, because me being me, it's easily done. Sand Dune, or Sandra Dune as we're going to call her. So for this, what I'm thinking is I'm going to start and I just want to almost follow the shape. And just for me, I find it easier to stamp there first. But you will come up with ways that you just like to do things. And then I'm going to bring it further in above. And I just want to almost mirror that shape. You could do a straight line, but for me, if it's a straight line, it almost has to be a straight line. So I'd rather just almost look for that shape. I think I can get a little bit across the top. And that will just fit beautifully there. Now that has smudged slightly, but don't worry because I'm going to put ink on that. So I wouldn't worry at all about that. These things happen, don't they? So we'll give that a blot. Again, because I'm going to now make my background, I don't want to smudge that ink any more than I just have. And I just want to build up some nice colour around the edge. So I've gone for soft cyan and truffle. Now my soft cyan is quite a new ink pad, so it's very juicy. So again, a good tip here, I mean, look at that. You can even tell by the amount just on there. So I'm not going to ink up very much, and I'll probably just use the ink that's in the lid. So I would always start in the bottom corners because I want those the darker colour anyway. And when I put this, look at that, you'll see that it's just full on colour. So I'm just going to drag that across those bottom two corners. And then just blend that. So if you've got an ink pad that's like that, full of colour, take it across the two. And then when you've got less ink, then blend up the sides, look. And I'm using that ink, and again, it's on my mat, look. So I can pick that ink up, I don't want to waste it, and I can blend that up the side here. I'm not going to add any more ink because I can pick this up, look. And especially for this area here, where I'm near my sunflower, I want nice light ink, so I'm picking all that up so I don't waste it. And then I'll just get a little bit more from the lid for these top corners. And I'll probably get both corners out of one. So again, you know your ink pads. And then what I'm going to do is just look. Now that's a little bit lighter, so I'll pick a little bit up and just darken those corners. And then I'm just going to wipe that up, just so that I don't pick any more up when I go to the darker colour. And I know it's a darker colour, but try to get in sort of good habits. So now the truffle. And this I'm purely going to add in the corners. So again, and this I'm just going to come straight from the ink pad because I know I want it quite dark. And I don't want to add any round the sides because I've got that lovely colour that I like. And it's just on these corners to darken it a bit more and frame it a bit more. And I think if I brought the dark brown round here, there's a chance I'd get lines. And I don't want that, so there's no need. Now, a little tip at this point, if, say, you were worried, I mean, I like that blend, but if I was concerned the blend wasn't quite right, I could bring my brush at this point, not add any more ink, and go back over the area I want to check the blending. And often that's a great way of just using the ink that's left on your brush anyway. But I'm happy with that. I like that blend, the way it's worked. So again, now you could smoosh that, put that in your journal, or mop it up on a tag or a spare piece of watercolour card. So what we're going to do, we're going to add some colour, but also I want to add some water splats in the background. So I've got my fan brush in my water pot, and I'm just tapping off some of the excess water, and then I just want, and I'm going to face out with my fan brush, because if possible, I just want the water splats really round the corners, not on my sunflower. So again, I find if I just face out with my fan brush and move it round, it will stay mainly in these lovely corners, look. Maybe a couple more there. A bit down that side. So I'm just going to bring my copy of paper in again. You turn that over so it looks a bit more, that looks better, doesn't it? Now, we're going to do this lovely technique where we're going to add the ink from our pens, the lovely watercolour, onto our block. Now, as I say, you could just, if you've not got any pens or pencils, you could pop some of your Elements ink on your mat, pick it up and watercolour paint. It might be you actually like the vintage look and you want to leave it at this stage. But I'm going to have a little play. And I'm just going to colour the leaves first and the middle of the sunflower. So I've gone for, colours, you need colours. So I've gone for yellow green, number 53. I will list them all. Mid green, 46, and 72, which is beige. And I just looked, and all you're going to do is try not to scrub. You want to keep these lovely nibs. And you're almost just lightly painting, just colouring it in. So I'm doing the whole green of the leaves and then just coming in with the mid bit with the darker colour. And then with the beige, just going to colour the centre. And the beauty of this is you never know how much you're going to get. And then the other three I've gone for is 70 orange, 51 light yellow and 50 yellow. And I literally just went in my box that's got my pens in and shows a couple of yellows, a couple of, an orange. But I mean, sunflowers come in so many different shades and you could do this so many different, add a bit of red. So I'm just adding the orange in the middle. And again, try not to scrub. You want to keep these lovely nibs beautiful. So I'm just adding a little bit of light yellow around the edge now, just catching those edges of the petals. And then with my mid-yellow, I'm almost going to blend a little bit of that orange into the yellow. And I'm not worried about my nibs contaminating because it will go back. If I was at all worried, just add a little bit more. I'm happy with that. Just on copy paper. There we go, and you can see the nib's not damaged and it's back to that beautiful yellow colour. A little bit of orange there, but it goes back to the yellow there. Put the lids on in a minute. Now, spritz. And this is where, if you wanted to use your lovely stamping platform, you can. But I'm just going to put my head over so my head might come in. And I'm just going to look and actually put that over. And if it's slightly off, I don't mind because I think that adds to the design. But if you want to get it spot on, and we're all different, use your platform. And as I say with this, the beautiful thing is you never know just how much colour. And it's just something a bit different. See, I like to challenge myself. Shh, don't tell anyone this because you might think I'm a bit mad. Well, I am. I like to challenge myself to see how close I can get it. And I'm happy with that. Look at that. And I just think it's such a lovely effect. Now, what you can do, spare piece of card. Let's see. And this is just an offcut. So if there's nothing there, doesn't matter. But it might just give me something lovely to go in my journal. Look at that. Now, I could even stamp on top of that. I could add some more. I would recommend cleaning your stamp. And you will get a slight, and it is only a slight amount of coloration in the middle look. But your stamp will work beautifully. And I'm happy with that. To me, makes my sunflower smile even more. But this is the one I got before, look. And almost as it dries, you get a little bit more shape. And they're so pretty. Might even make those into bookmarks, So thank you, whoever just shouted bookmarks. Now, at this stage, you can leave this, or if you want, you can come in with either a water brush or your blender pen. And if you want to drag any of the colour a little bit further, you can. Or if you wanted to add any more colour, so just say, and again, this is the fun of this, that's quite orange. If I wanted to add a little bit more yellow, look, I can just, because at the end of the day, it's your design. So I love the white, but I just want a little bit more of that yellow in there, look. And for me, I like that. And I may just add a wee bit more, just a little. I like the white space, but I just wanted a little more of that green. Right, so lids on with these, because if I don't, it's really important, put the lids on, you don't want them to dry out. And no, I don't, I'd more or less put the lids on the correct one, if it's obvious, but if not. But look at that. I think that is so pretty, and it's just a great fun thing to do. Now you could make 2 or 3 of these. And look at that, if I give you a close-up, can you see? And what's nice, if it's slightly off, it makes it look quite 3D. See here, can you see at the top, it almost looks like a bit of a shadow. And because it's watercolour card, look, it's beautiful, it's not warped. I've not need to use my heat tool. Just going to add one of our lovely sentiment stickers, and I'm going to go for Happy. And I chose it ready because I was demonstrating recently, and honestly, my demonstrations didn't take long. The longest bit, and any of the ladies that were stood there, it was choosing the sentiment. And even when I passed my sheet of sentiment stickers out and said to the ladies, do you want to choose a sentiment? They were, oh, it's going to take me ages. Can somebody else do it? So I made sure I've got one ready today. And then lastly, now, if you want to leave it like this, you could add a little bit of stickles if you want. I'm leaving mine without glitter. I'm just going to add some lovely sparkle with the yellow sparkly Posca. And again, I've given it a good shake because it's got that acrylic paint in. And we'll just add it round here. And I think that's a design that will make you smile on a Monday. And it's just such a happy, lovely card and fun to do. And I can't wait to see. And it works well with lots of the other stamps as well. I do hope you have a play. On the original, I've matted and laid, and I've actually put my sparkles across my mats as well, look. I like to do that, it just carries the design on a little bit further. Now, when I was originally playing, just to show you, these two, this is created without that VersaFine Clair ink behind. So if you want just a watercolour effect, that's the one. And then that's with the VersaFine Clair. So lots of lovely things there for you to have a play. And I cannot wait to see what you do. So please tag me in, have fun. Which stamps are you going to use? Guess what? I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm off now to sit in the garden with Eric and have a lovely cheeky brew and biscuit. So you take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.